Why is there an opportunity in construction to do franchising?
So interestingly enough, home services, and again, we're not talking about heavy equipment franchising, but home services and some light business-to-business construction is a very hot model right now because, look, most of it cannot be replaced by AI. Yes, AI is being used to make it more efficient, to do the estimating, to do what have you, scheduling it, but still it has to be human going and getting stuff done. I can tell you again, in San Diego, California, people wait weeks, if not months, to get a good handyman. That's just a problem.
Hello, everybody. Gavin Coyle. I'm the Gaffer. I'm back to get again with a great guest, and it's Max Emma. And Max is the CEO and founder of franchisewithmax.com. He's an expert in the field of franchising, and he wants to talk to us today about what franchising looks within the construction world. You may be thinking of your next move in a career change from where you are. You're on the tools, probably looking at all the hassle that's going on a day-to-day basis in your construction business, and you're thinking to yourself, well, what else could I do? What else could I put my mind to in regards to a career? Or do you think you're stuck in the position you're in and you don't think that there's anything out there for you? This guy is a very inspirational person in his own right in what regards he has done in his own career. And we're going to get in under the skin in regards to that as well. But I want you to be thinking of two things. Who's looking after your bookkeeping at the moment? Is it being done correctly? And then number two, have you thought about franchising as a model of a career if you're thinking about your next step in your evolution as a construction owner? Max, welcome to the show. Delighted to have you here.
Thank you, Gavin. It's great to be here. Looking forward to the conversation.
Absolutely. Tell me, where did it all start for you?
Well, the short version of a long version is that I moved to the United States from the former Soviet Union 33 plus years ago, got my degree in finance, worked for corporate America to realize that the corporate life was not for me. Joined a small family business, which was landscape maintenance route, literally 3 employees, 1 truck. And I gave myself a challenge to grow this company. And we made this company to become a landscape construction. And we were doing track homes. At the peak, it was 96 employees and a lot of trucks, a lot of equipment. And then the 08-09 recession hit. And in the US, as you know, you have to personally guarantee all the equipment, most of the equipment, when you are in construction. And so we didn't have a choice but declare both business and personal bankruptcy. So went from 96 employees to 0, selling all the assets, paying all the debt. So it was brutal, to say the least. You know, with 1 baby at home and 1 on the way. I remember the feeling. That was tough. And then, you know, it was me and my wife who later become a co-founder of Bookkeeping. And we didn't have a choice but to start another business because nobody was hiring at the time and we had to pay the bills. And that business was more successful, was landscape maintenance, sold it. And while we were doing it, we were looking for a good bookkeeper to do the accounting for us, given the fact that I had a bachelor in finance and I was a village idiot and she had masters in accounting. So we knew the accounting piece, but we were so busy growing the business and growing the family. So we didn't have time to do it ourselves, which we're like, well, if we did, we probably would not get hit that hard. And so we opened Bookkeeping out of the garage and then later sold the landscape maintenance company. I was running the 2 companies at a time. And a few years in, Bookkeeping became a franchise. Well, not few. It was more than a few, but it was just an idea. Hey, you know, why don't we just see if we can create a franchise out of it? And now Bookkeeping is the only bookkeeping franchise in the US. And again, that's my story. One business leads to another, and it's always a journey. You can only connect dots looking backwards, so you don't know where it's going to take you. But that's just my life. I'm taking the next step. I mean, being sure that I'm going to get there. And then we did. And then so the next step was to open a franchise brokerage. So if somebody wasn't a good match for Bookkeeping, because of our connection in the franchising world, I can help them to choose over 600 different franchises. And my service is completely free. We only get paid if someone buys a franchise. We get commission from a franchisor. Actually, I even share part of my commission with my candidates and pay for 9 months of their sales training. So that's my story. And out of this 600 franchises, I'd say at least a third, maybe a quarter, are in the home service or, construction related
Construction,
field.
yeah, service related. Interesting. Wow. How do we unpack that? So you find franchises for people. That's one business that you have, but you also have your own franchise model, which is the bookkeeping
Mhm.
model. Okay.
Yes.
So the complexity of a franchise. Talk to me about that.
The franchise, you mean like helping people to find the right franchise?
No, I mean, in terms of creating a business and then
Oh,
franchising that business.
well, that was just an idea, just because we started as the local company in San Diego, California, and eventually, by accident, we started doing bookkeeping for other franchise brands, and we became a national company. Now we do it for over 100 franchise brands in the U.S., and I realized we are losing this local feel, even though it's very much needed, and that's how the idea of franchising started. And also, Gavin, it started from me being around other franchisors because I would go to a conference and I would just hang out. And I saw that everybody wants to help. Everybody was willing to see you succeed. And that's amazing. I personally have seen the CEOs of two major franchises. Each has over 1,000 units. They're competing with each other. They were sitting at the bar late at night, having a drink and talking to each other. And they're competing for the same talent, for the same franchisees, for the same customers. But yet they don't look at it that we are fighting and we are competing. They look at it as it's an abundance model. It's enough for everybody. And that's what I like. And that's how I live my life. So I'd say if somebody wants to franchise their business, just make sure it's A, it's scalable, and B, you document everything that you've done because that's what you're pretty much going to be selling. It's how to get it done and repeat your success and do not repeat your mistakes.
Because, like, you look at the obvious ones, like Subway, for example, as a franchise. Isn't there a time where it just dips and it gets into saturation mode where it just, maybe the quality starts to go down? And I'm not saying Subway quality has gone down, but I do believe that the franchise model is probably not as strong as what it was when it started. Like, it really is something that you just have to work on every day and every year. You constantly have to refresh the brand and sort of bring energy to it and, make sure that the quality is being delivered. Like that, there's a lot of pressure on you to sort of be the front face of the overall, be the master franchise owner, if you like.
For sure. I mean, I remember, I don't know, 20 years ago, Subway was hottest thing ever. Everybody was saying how healthy it is. But then there are so many sandwich franchises right now that Subway is struggling, speaking of Subway. But it doesn't mean that the franchise owners are not making money. They
Yeah,
are making money. They just have, they're probably not making as much as they were before. And it's
yeah,
normal. Look, time is a big factor. Remember before COVID, everybody was talking about opening a fitness franchise. I mean, you
yeah,
had to be an idiot not to open fitness franchise. Everything was in fitness. I,
yeah,
I,
yeah,
I went to a conference literally about months and a half before we got shut down, the world got shut down. Every new franchise was fitness. And guess what happened? 90% of them died. I mean, the
yeah,
strongest guys stayed because, they were able to make it online and, stay alive and afloat.
yeah,
But some younger systems, not all of them, but most of them, just did not make it.
yeah,
Then everybody was talking about senior services. It's still hot in the US because of baby boomers. There are a lot of seniors, but in my opinion, the model is oversaturated. So I don't even offer it to my candidates. Right now, as far as I know, there are 68 franchises, 68 in home care for seniors. And they're all going after the same talent. It's enough seniors for them. It's just not enough people who actually can do the work.
yeah, yeah. Talk
So
talk to me about the construction element then. Why is there an opportunity in construction to do franchising?
So, interestingly enough, home services, and again, we're not talking about heavy equipment franchising, but home services and
Yeah,
some light business to business construction is a very hot model right now because, look, most of it cannot be replaced by AI. Yes, AI is being used to make it more efficient, to do the
Mm,
estimating, to do what have you, scheduling it, but still it has to be human going and getting stuff done. I can tell you again, in San Diego, California, people wait weeks, if not months, to get a good handyman.
yeah.
That's just that's a problem. Just not enough people. I mean, the robot can go and replace the light bulb very high up that the homeowner cannot do it themselves.
Yeah.
So it is a very hot franchise. Also, one that it's growing a lot is the striping the parking lots, because that has to be done once a year. And in some regions where it's too hot, maybe even twice a year. So once you
Yeah.
have commercial contracts, you pretty much have yourself a job twice a year to go and restripe the parking lots. I mean, there are a
Yeah.
lot of things that are hot right now. And what I like about franchising model in construction, we talked a bit about it a little bit before the show. You don't have to be a professional contractor to open a franchise. The whole point of franchising that, hey, we're going to teach you how to run the business, how to hire the right people. If you buy
Yeah.
painting franchise, they're not expecting you to go and paint the house. As a matter of fact, I always tell my candidates, do not buy yourself a job, because
Yeah.
this is ridiculous. You paying $80,000, $100,000 to buy yourself a job. This just
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense. Buy yourself a business where you're a business owner, and it takes time to change your thinking. And good franchise brands help you do that.
Yeah. And they reduce the risk for you starting up a brand new business. So, all the failings and all the learnings have been done. So you're pretty much providing them with a blueprint playbook right out of the box. Here's all your policies, here's all your procedures. You just go and smash it now and go and get and bring in the business. Really, isn't that? And then obviously you as the master franchise owner, if you like, support them on their journey. That's really what it boils down to, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, I mean,
Mhm.
absolutely. It's not eliminating risk completely. There is always risk of, going into any business. But
Yeah.
again, like, can you open your own pizza franchise? I mean, pizza as a restaurant. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You can do it, but how many pies you gonna burn before you figure out the best recipe? How many pieces of pepperoni has to go? I mean, how much cheese, what type of cheese? And then how many people you should put in a kitchen and how they should be staggered so they're not kicking each other hats while doing the work. So
Yeah.
franchisor figured it out. And you can figure it out, but it's going to cost you a lot of time and a lot of money. In the finance world, it's called opportunity cost.
Yeah. So one of the reasons we wanted to get you on the show, Max, was we looked at HomeServe, and I'm sure you're familiar with HomeServe as a model. And it's not a franchise model, obviously, but HomeServe obviously provides all of your home repairs and upgrades, and you can basically pay them on a subscription fee where they will look after your house or your number of properties if you're in that financial position, and they will just charge you like a monthly subscription fee. Serve sold in 2023 to Canadian asset management company Brookfield for 4 billion. So you're bang on the money, I think, and that's one of the reasons we wanted to get you on here. Was there is definitely a big shift from the financial side of things in the financial world to look at this particular industry as a potential growth industry. There's no way somebody's spending 4 billion without actually something actually happening in the space. So if I'm a construction owner, or maybe I'm a roofing contractor, or maybe I'm a plumbing and heating contractor, what are we talking about here? What kind of franchises are we talking about here?
Well, there are franchises in all of the fields that you mentioned. Again, it's not like mostly commercial construction. Like, there is no franchise that I know of that will make you a commercial roofing contractor. You can do light commercial roofing, but probably not a high rise. But I would actually spin it a little bit. And if you are an HVAC business owner and you do heating and air conditioning, I would suggest for you to buy an electrical franchise where they give you a model, because you're gonna go to somebody's homes and they will require an electrician. But instead of starting from scratch, they're already going to give you a model, and also they're going to give you some clients because they're going to do the
Yeah,
marketing for you. They're going to do everything.
yeah,
And these clients can become clients for your HVAC business. So I would say
yeah.
just diversify. That's another rule of finance, that you don't want to put all eggs in one basket. I mean, it's an obvious thing, but people do that. Like
Yeah.
Bitcoins is great, but I would not suggest for anybody, not that anybody asking me, I'm not a finance advisor, but I would not
Yeah.
advise everybody to put all their savings into Bitcoin
No.
because it's volatile. It can go up and down. You should put some, but then you should diversify, put it somewhere else. Same here. So
Yeah.
I do believe that this is the way to go. And Gavin, look, another thing that people don't realize for those who don't live in the United States, franchising is a great model to get into the United States legally by getting the E2 visa.
Great
You
point.
buy a business and you become the business owner. If somebody from Ireland is an electrical contractor and wants to come to the United States and buy Mr. Electric franchise, they can. They already know the trades. The franchise will teach you how to do marketing, will help you to set up. And
Yeah.
while you're doing it, you will be getting your E2 visa, which I believe 83 countries are qualified. So it's a trade. The agreement goes back and forth with the United States, but sometimes the approval takes up to 3 weeks, and then
Wow.
it's allowing you to run your business, go in and out, unlimited. It allows your spouse to work anywhere in the United States, making the U.S. wages. So if your spouse, assuming you're a guy, and your spouse is a computer engineer, she can find a job making probably more than you will be making in the beginning because that's what people are getting paid. And then your kids can go to school or college and they don't need to have a separate visa. And it's pretty much more like automatic renewal every 2 years. So it's not going to get you a green card, but then it gets you in the United States. So you can have your business in Ireland and then have a business in the US and move your family here if that's what you desire. So it can be a
Wow.
mechanism to do that while making money. Not every business is qualified for E2. Not all franchises want to deal with it because it's more paperwork for us. But so I would say out of 630 that I work with, say about 320 are the E2 compliant. Of course, not all of them in home services, but there are quite a few that would qualify.
E2.
E2 visa, yes, that's a very popular visa right now. And unlike the ones where you need to invest $1 million, you just have to start with $100,000, and the approval is done at the local American consulate level. So
Wow.
U.S. consul just stamps it. I mean, yeah, you have to have a business plan. You have to have your money have to be clean. You have to prove that you can support yourself while business is growing.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
for all the like Western Europe, Canada, and some Asian countries, it's pretty much like paperwork, and then it gets done. You don't even have to, in some cases, do a business plan because if franchise is established, and a lot of home services franchise have
So,
5, 6 units, they can prove, hey,
yeah.
model is working. So here's our business plan. Look, our franchisees are successful. All this is public
Wow.
information.
And as well as that, I presume the franchise owner will actually tell you, here's the different states or here's the different cities within states that require a franchise of our type so that you don't come over and land in New York or Chicago and go, hey, I'm here.
Well, yes, but at the same time, when I talk to people like that, and I work with some E2 candidates right now, I'm not in construction market, but I tell them pick where you want to live. You can't just move. I mean, the United States is a huge country, so you can't just if you like the beach, you probably don't want to live somewhere in the middle of the country when there is no
Yeah.
ocean. Okay. So
Yeah.
figure out this is going to be your life. It's not all about the money, it's about your lifestyle. So
Yeah.
if you
Fair
like
point.
skiing, you might want to be close to Vermont. I mean, Florida might not be a good place for you to land. Okay. So figure
Yeah.
out that and then see what businesses are available. Because let's say you want to buy a painting franchise. There are probably 6 or 8 options right now in this field. Not all of them going to be available in this area. So we always start with the area, we start with the budget. And that's why people use franchise consultants or so-called brokers like myself,
Like
because
yourself.
that's
Yeah.
our job to suggest. And then let's say we find 3 painting companies, then
Yeah.
my job is to tell them, hey, I worked with this one, I didn't work with this one. And look, I suggest this instead of that for that reason. You might want to talk to all of them, but I would suggest pick one or two and then go this route. And Ask them all the questions that you want to ask.
You're the franchise and dating doctor of the world, basically.
I like it. I might steal it from you.
Hi guys, as you're enjoying this podcast, I just wanted to take a few seconds to let you know about my company, Coyle Group. We're not just another safety recruitment agency. We're your partners in building a safer future. With over 25 years of experience and more than 1 million hours of safety work completed, our mission is clear. Provide top-tier health and safety contractors tailored to the unique needs of your project. We also carry out on-site construction audits. From wind energy to power stations, utilities and engineering projects, our global reach and specialised expertise ensures your operations are not just compliant, but exemplary. For more information on how ensuring safety and sustainability of your products using our team of HSE contractors, visit coyle-group.com or click on the show notes or video description now. I've also put a booking link into the description for you to click and have a one-to-one conversation with me. Now, back to the podcast. Enjoy and see you soon.
Brilliant. No, and I totally get it, because like the beauty about you is, I presume if I wanted to get a franchise, I would reach out to like yourself and I'd say, okay, little Paddy from Ireland is going to get a boat or a plane and head to the States. And obviously working with yourself, I don't have to pay you. You get your fees from the franchise company for introducing whoever the franchisee is. So there's no real friction on the way in terms of, you know, your best interest is served getting the best franchise model for this particular person.
Yes, you're totally right. But I've been in the industry long enough not to let people who shouldn't be in the industry inside.
Yeah.
If I understand I'm not going to be making money, franchising is not for everybody. First of
No.
all, you do have to have capital, because when you start a new business, I mean,
Yeah.
come on, let's be realistic. You're not going to start making money day one. Would be nice. And, miracles can happen, but it's a miracle. You have to work before you start. So you have to have enough money to support yourself.
Yeah.
And your family. I mean, the life is not cheap, especially nowadays. So you have to have a buffer that will support you. And it's normal. So we started there. Also, it's a myth that franchising would work for everybody. If you are a type A personality and you want everything to be done your way, franchising is not for you, because, there are rules and regulations. McDonald's not going to let you to sell pizza. Even if you have the best recipe that your grandmother created, they're not going to do it. This is it. So if you don't agree with this, don't buy McDonald's.
Yeah, no, I agree. And then when you mention McDonald's, obviously they're the blueprint of how to do free franchising, but there is also, on the flip side, other stories. For example, KFC, where they ran out of chicken. I don't know if you remember that story. So I'm just linking this to construction. You're not going to run out. You're not going to run out of chicken in construction, but you can have food scares and stuff like that. But I know there was a Turkish company like in that had the franchise for KFC and Pizza Hut, and like they had like over 500 outlets and lost the whole lot.
Yes, but bringing it to construction world, I mean, remember when during COVID they didn't have enough wood in the US, and just if you are a construction company, you just couldn't buy the material. It was just a shortage, and so stuff happened. I mean, we had shortage of some automobile parts, and then again, it can be bad for any industry for that matter.
Yeah,
somehow people figure it out. Takes time, but then that's what makes a difference between a good franchisor and not a good franchisor. Good franchisor just, okay, we have an issue. How do we fix it? Do we find a different supplier? I mean, what are we gonna do?
Yeah, no. The beauty about it for me, and I do like, I like that. I like the space that you're in. For me, having set up a business and run a couple of businesses now at this stage from scratch, and I'm up from scratch. And you look back at it and go, oh my God, the time, the energy, the sweat, the stress involved in doing all of that. A really good franchise is worth its weight in gold in terms of taking all of that pain away from you. I'm not saying that it's an easy ride, but if you're not good at systems and you're not good at procedures, franchise model is something you should definitely think about, in my opinion.
Speaking of construction, I mean, you also have to be careful when you like, I want to live in California. To open a
Mm.
construction business in California is way harder than, let's call it, Florida. And that's because of the state regulation. Because in most construction fields, you have to have a construction license. And to get a license, you have to pass the exams, you have to qualify. So some states are more regulated than others. So you have to be aware of that, and franchisor will tell you, and some franchisors help you to get like a qualifying license holder so you can figure it out while you taking classes and then taking the exams. But that's a consideration. You
Yeah,
have to know that
yeah.
opening a construction business in California is going to be harder than doing it in Texas or Florida.
What about the local permits from the municipalities and stuff like that? That's another consideration, isn't it? In terms of any statutory paperwork, now that you're talking about California.
So I do not think that construction companies are regulated on this level. At least when I had my landscaping construction, I had my state construction license, and that was it. You deal with municipalities when you have to have permits. So that's a
Yeah,
little bit different. But if you're doing painting job, you don't have to have a permit. If you do a
yeah,
handyman job, you don't have to have a permit.
yeah,
But in some states, you have to have a license. So it's a little bit different. I'm not even going this
yeah,
route. And again, most of the franchises, you're not going to be like a general contractor where you're going to be start building houses. You can do
yeah,
like light remodeling. You can do kitchen remodeling is a great franchise, and there are quite a few of them. For that, you do need not so much the permit, but the HOA permission. So you do have to have permission from somebody, but for most cases, it's not going to be municipal because you just, taking the old kitchen out, putting the new one in, or the closets,
yeah.
whatever it is. So again, I'm sure in some cases you will have to deal with it, but I do not think that's the main.
No, it's good. It's good to know, and that these are really valid points. So I really appreciate your feedback on it. Is in terms of the annual fees then, or the percentages of your profits, give me like, obviously you can't speak to specifics. What are we looking at generally, Max, in terms of fees, ongoing fees?
So you pay a franchise fee, which is typically anywhere between $50,000 to $70,000. Again, I'm giving you an average. If you want to
Yeah,
buy two territories and make your territory bigger, then franchise fee will be bigger. And then you
yeah,
pay royalties, and royalties are in
royalties.
franchising in 99.9% of the time are paid out of the gross sales, not
Okay.
profits. So if the company did
Okay.
1 million, they have to pay to the franchisor the percentage of that. Every industry is different, but in franchising, you're probably looking, again, I'm giving you averages.
Yeah.
Don't quote me. It's probably 5 to 7% of your gross sales. So, a franchisor job is to teach you how to price it so it's enough money for you and it's enough money for that. But that's a great point. That's where my job comes handy, because I explain to the candidates that you can't just pick one franchise over another because there is one less percentage point
Yeah.
on the
No.
royalties. Because the question is, what am I getting for my royalties? If
Yeah.
they have a call center for me and they take all the calls and they're dispatching all my routes and I just have to show up and do the work, hell yes, I'm going to pay more on the royalties, because they taking this friction away from me. I can just concentrate on doing my job. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so don't just look at the numbers. Okay, I'm gonna go with franchise A because it's 5% and not 7%. Well,
Yeah.
wait a second. What are you getting in return?
Yeah. And how much is that going to cost you if you had to put your own money into that level of service? So you might have to, somebody's are entirely giving you, leads to follow up on, that they're providing this whole lead generation system behind you, where some other franchise might just say, look, no, it's up to you to bring in sales like that. How much is that worth to you, I suppose, is what you're saying, Max, isn't it? And not just
Yeah,
sales, it could be anything like bookkeeping, etc.
absolutely. I mean, a lot of franchises provide all the estimating tools and, actually even doing the estimate. I mean, there are construction franchises, interestingly enough, where you don't have any employees. All you are is like a broker per se. So you would find different handymans in your area, and then your franchisor is helping you to do the marketing, and people contact you like, hey, I need to replace a light bulb, and you have two or three vendors that you can dispatch to this location. The trick is to have somebody who is actually going to show up, because if your vendors are not responding and not going to show up, at some point you're going to get kicked out of this referral system. People are going to say, well, I
Yeah.
don't want to deal with them. So you still have to do the work, but you don't have to do the physical work. So a lot of
Yeah.
franchises are actually on like a dispatching side, which I kind of like, because you don't have to have a license. Your job is to make sure that people under you have licenses.
Great point. And tell me this as well, in terms of minimum levels of revenue today, is it across the board that there's always a caveat that you must produce a certain amount of revenue for your area in order to hold on to the franchise? And what does that
Well,
look
I
like?
mean, you can have access to some financial data. Franchising is very regulated model in the United States. As a franchisor, you can only say so much, and if it's disclosed for everybody. You can just tell me something that the other people doesn't know. It's illegal, okay? But where you can find out what's really going on, it's when you talk to existing franchisees. It's so-called validation model, because this is one-on-one call usually, and you can ask any questions. And my job is to coach you what questions to ask, and
Mm.
how to interpret this question. Because again, hey, how much money you making is not a valid question. If I am in business 3 months and I just finished my training and my revenue is zero, doesn't mean that the system is bad.
Yeah.
Okay. It just means you just haven't gotten to profitability yet. And you just, doing what you have to do to build your client base. So it's very important to look at the big picture. It's not just, asking one question. Okay, I talked to this person, he's not making money. Boom, I'm not buying this franchise. That's stupid. So
Yeah.
you have to dig deeper.
Yeah. Wow.
Hello, gaffers. Hope you're enjoying the podcast. We love every one of the guests that we have, but in order to bring on more great guests, we'd love to build the channel with you. So hit the subscribe, hit the like button, and let's create a really great community where we bring in better and better guests for you to deliver great content and great pieces of information that you can take back into your business. Now, back to the podcast. Thank you.
I'm actually blown away by this conversation because it's creating so much opportunity when you see people who, genuinely are suffering and are challenged by their existing business. Like, something like this is, a fantastic option to get out of where you probably currently are at the moment. Because, I see or hear a lot of the listeners and viewers on this show where they're just scraping by, basically, they're really just sort of going home, doing the books at the table, trying to catch up with, sending documentation through for a quotation, or, backing up some documentation that the client needs in order to do some sort of a tender or whatever it is. Like, it's just constant, non-stop, where, when they look at it in terms of the amount of hours that they're putting in versus what they're actually being rewarded in terms of profit or no profit, you'd wonder why some people actually are in business. And I think, with the best will in the world, it can be ego as well, that people that just don't want to let go because they spend so much time and effort trying to build up their own brand that, they're probably not being honest with themselves that, look, this is failing. Like, this is not going anywhere. And it's not for any particular fault of theirs. They might be it's just not working. They haven't put it together properly. And that's where I see the franchise model is, it has been put together by experts. If you get the right franchise and it's there in a package, and all of the hard work and risk of putting all this together has been taken out. Yeah, there's still risk because you still need to execute, and you still need to bring in the work, and you still need to deliver quality. But geez, like, to cut out all of that other stuff and to give you a sort of, and even to have a name, like a franchise name does carry. Like I've seen it definitely in the waste industry. Where definitely the waste industry has got franchised and it's worked really well in terms of scale. And I hear what you're saying. The likes of the service industries, AI won't replace these guys. So there's going to be massive need for local plumbers, local, aircon or heat pump technicians, etc. The growth is only going to get bigger in this area.
And look, there is a shortage of qualified labor. There was just an article, I believe, in Wall Street Journal last week that there is a huge shortage of electricians for data centers because you have to have special qualifications. And with several years of experience, people are making $300,000 a year being an electrician on the field. And that's a lot of money. Not all doctors making that much
Yeah.
money.
Wow.
300,000. Again, you're not going to get it from day one.
Wow.
And they cannot find enough people because they're building data centers left and right, and they don't have a qualified labor to do so. This is just one of the examples. So you have to
I
look
know.
at the big picture. And here's another layer that I want to introduce. If your listener and viewer is in the United States, there are government money available for you to open the business. The SBA,
No.
Small Business Administration, the money is there. And you can get it. Yes, it's not going to work for E2 visas. As a matter of fact, it's even harder starting March 1st, I believe. Now, even if you have a green card, you're not eligible for the SBA, which means there are more money. So if you are a US citizen, there are more money that the government has to give to you to open the business. Under, I believe, $350,000, you don't even have to have a collateral, and you can get an approval really fast. Yes, you have to have a credit history. You have to, do the paperwork. Obviously, nobody's just going to give you money because you ask for it. But assuming you're qualified, you can get the money and open the business with, I don't want to say zero down, let's call it 10% down.
Yeah. You're a smart man. You've it all figured out, Max, haven't you?
Not everything. I mean, I'll let you know. We'll have another episode when I figure it out, but I'm not there yet.
Let me throw a few curveballs at you because we're coming near the end of the show, Max. Yeah. So knowing what you know now, Max, what would you do in life different?
That's a great question. What I would do differently when I came to the United States and when I was going to school, we were told that you have to pay your dues. You have to go get your education, work for somebody, learn, and then you open your business. Whether you're a lawyer, you are a tax accountant, or you're a contractor, you have to go work for somebody, get an experience. I do not believe that that should be the case anymore because I know some successful kids, and I can call them kids because they're about my kids' age, who open the business like two buddies, when they graduate college, just, buy a franchise. And by the time their friends are getting the 2-3 years experience behind their belt, they already own 3-4 locations.
Yeah.
And, they just killing it. So the question is, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? I'm not saying do not get your experience under the belt. Like if you want to be a doctor, 3%. You're not going and becoming a doctor just, well, I feel like becoming a doctor. But there are actually medical franchises that you can buy and you don't have to be a doctor. And then the franchise helps you to find it. Speaking of that. But what I would tell myself, I didn't have to get 4 years of experience in corporate America. I could have gone and started my business way sooner and probably would survive the recession of 08 or 09 because I would be in the business longer. Again, could have, it doesn't matter. I'm grateful for everything I've got. I learned from it. Again, zero regret. But that's what I would tell myself. Don't listen to people who tell you have to do something. You absolutely have to do shit. Pardon my French.
Love it. I love it. I love it. Can you tell us something of interest about you outside of the podcast, obviously, and the franchising business? Is there something, maybe it's a hobby or something that you do that maybe not people listening to this or watching this will go, shit, I didn't see that coming.
Is smoking cigars and drinking whiskey, is that a hobby? Or
there you go.
No, I love traveling. Whenever I get an opportunity, I always do. I've been to 54 countries, and I already have a couple more planned this year. I absolutely love it. I love theater. Whenever I get a chance to go and see a live show, a live music concert. I'm doing that. If I
Deadly.
travel somewhere international and there is a show that I like, I'll go see it. Like I'm going to be in New York for a franchise conference in about 3 weeks, and I already booked 4 Broadway plays and musicals to see while
Love it.
I'm there. So that's something that I know it's not really franchising related, but I absolutely
No.
enjoy it. I've enjoyed it all my life, and
Yeah.
I continue doing it.
And I have to ask the question because you've been to 54 countries. Give me your top three.
Top three, it's hard, but I would say Israel, Belgium, and Singapore. And that's just the first three that come to mind. But I haven't found the country that I absolutely hate. I mean, there are countries that I want to come back and explore more,
Yeah.
but it's only because like the country has richer culture or the country is bigger. Like I believe you can come
Yeah.
back to Italy many times and see different places. And we were talking about
Yeah.
Ireland. I absolutely love Dublin, but I haven't seen
Yeah.
anything outside of Dublin.
No.
So I know when I come back, it'll be completely different experience.
Yeah. You need to head west. You need to head to the Atlantic Ocean side. A favorite book or movie, Max, or both?
Favorite movie, probably I'd say Godfather and Godfather Part 2,
Okay.
to be specific, because I really like when they telling you two stories of the young Don Corleone and the current situation. That's the
Yeah.
movie that you can watch many times. The book, there are several, but I'm gonna stick with the business book that change how I run my businesses. And look, I'm a CEO of 3 businesses, so
Yeah.
but I'm working less than I was when I had just one business. So the book is called 10x is easier than 2x
10x
by
is
Dan
easier than 2x.
Sullivan and Ben Hardy. This book has changed my life. I mean, both business and personally. And the idea is very simple. If you're doing great and you want to double your revenue, you probably just have to work more hours and continue doing what you're doing and you can double. But if you want 10x your revenue, doing that will not help
No.
because you only can work so many hours. So you have to
Yeah.
change the strategy. And people don't look at it this way. Well, I'm good at networking. I'm going to continue doing more network. That's not going to get you
No.
10x.
No.
But and I'm not saying 2x is bad. Like, look, if you're doubling your business all the time, it's wonderful. But
Yeah.
at some point, you're going to run out of hours you can work
Yeah.
per day.
Yeah. Yeah. I know where you're going with that, by the way. Acquisitions, etc. Fair point. Max, I'm on your
Or
website.
Gavin, I mean, franchising would be one of those because
Yeah.
you can actually buy several franchises, like one electrical, one plumbing, I'm using one painting, and then grow
Yeah.
them. Same, people that you're going after, but you offer them different services. That's called diversification. You don't have to
Yeah.
even do the acquisition. You can just go into different and have managers and grow your little empire.
I think you've hit the nail on the head. Diversification, and I don't think we look at it enough in terms of the risk profile of your current business. Are you too stuck into a niche or niche, as you guys call it? Are you focused on one area or one local area, serving one type of a service? And the franchising stuff, like it's kind of a no brainer. If you're looking for an out, then you're listening and you're watching the show. Max, how would people get in touch with you? Because I'm sure they'll definitely want to be talking to you if they take anything from today's podcast.
The best way is to find me on my website, franchisewithmax.com,
Yeah,
franchisewithmax.com, and then people can choose if they want to talk to me about bookkeeping for their business, if they want to talk about bookkeeping franchise, or if they're interested in one of the 600 franchises that I represent. And again, my
yeah.
services are completely free. They're still going to talk to my team first, but eventually I promise everybody will get to me. That's the best way to find me. I'm also on LinkedIn and people can find me Max Emma on LinkedIn.
Well, maybe what would be a great idea if somebody was listening to the show or was watching the show and did actually reach out to you, and we'll put your details in the show notes, by the way, for anybody who wants to contact you. Maybe it'd be a good idea to come back on the show at a later stage and maybe discuss that person's journey from contacting you through the show, after the show, and then how they went and sort of what that looked like for them.
I'd love that. Godfather Part 2.
Max, and another thing about you, I just call it as it is. You're very authentic, and you come across very authentic. So well done, and congratulations on the success of your business. And we wish you every continued success.
Thank you, Gavin. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Take care. All the best.